Thank you so much for coming. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to play a Klaatu song. Why don't we do that? Because you remember how I said to you, there were the three Toronto musicians, and when they launched their album, they were entirely anonymous. They left their names out of it. Not because they wanted to be pretend Beatles. No, because they wanted to be judged on the merit of their work, right? And the merit of their work sounded insanely Beatlesque. And that's why you had these three Canadians selling out all over the world because people thought they were the Beatles. So it's playing. My speaker is working. All right?
In your mind, you have capacities, you know.
Strawberry Fields, right? Ooh, Penny Lane. It could be John Lennon. I mean, it could be, right? And here comes George Martin's production. I mean, right? Anyway, that's Klaatu. By the way, one of the members of Klaatu ended up working for George Martin at Air Studios in London. And doesn't Paul McCartney walk into the studio one day? And you know what he described the Klaatu guy as? He said, "Oh, you're with the Beatles clone band." Clone band.
Do you know, was that Gary Draper, John Bullock?
So Bullock is in DC. I think it was Terry Draper. It's in the book, I should know. I think it is Terry Draper. Yeah, he worked at Air Studios. In fact, worked on a McCartney song as well.
He's a Toronto guy too now.
Yeah. I mean, all three of them are from, they met in high school, I think. In Toronto. Yes,
Was
Andy.
it easy to interview people and get them excited about what you were trying to do?
Yes, because there is a whole universe out there of Beatlemaniacs. The number of Facebook pages, podcasts, reference material devoted to these four guys. Sandy, there are 8,000 books written about the Beatles. Collecting source material was not the issue. Getting something fresh and new, that was my challenge, which is why I opted as much for oral histories as I did for reference material, because you get fresh stuff with oral histories, right? So was it easy? I spent time in libraries, I spent time in cafes talking to people, I spent a lot of time on the internet, a lot of surfing. So yeah, it wasn't, listen, I've been writing and researching all my life. Was this any more difficult? Not really. Not really.
But way more fun.
How long has You've been doing your own PR, but do the surviving Beatles have a copy of your book? Because I think they should.
Too many layers of protection. Too many layers of protection. I can't, listen, Tamara was with me. It's May 27th, we're at Casino Rama. Ringo Starr is playing his first night. First night of his restarted, rebooted concert tour since COVID, right? We got there early. Why? Because I wanted to get to the stage and wait for him, right? So I've got the book in my hand. Ringo! Ringo! Right? Well, there's no Ringo. His people are there, they're tuning instruments and they're setting things up, because it was about half an hour before the show. They weren't even looking at me. A woman in one of the front row seats saw exactly what I was up to, and she said, "I don't think he's going to get your book, but how could I take a picture of you next to his drum kit holding your book?" And I said, "I love you." And so there's a photograph of me with Ringo's drum kit in the back. But it's, I mean, Sandy, think of Paul McCartney. He is even beyond British royalty in terms of his echelon in the world, right? He is a billionaire. He is this, he is everything. The protection for that man is alone offers so many layers between guys like me and him. It has to be through social media. I have to make the breakthrough through social media. I have to keep commenting on their sites and hope that one of their people says to another one of their people, who says to someone who might know Paul, who says to a neighbor's dog that once met Paul, that, hey, this guy from Canada said something interesting. That's the only way it's going to happen. I mentioned the neighbor's dog who knows Paul.
started off introducing the book as sort of a love child, if I may, of your interests, Canada and Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
This has been with you since you were very young.
Mm-hmm.
What would a book like this have meant to you in your Beatles fandom? And what do you think it means to Beatles fans now in Canada?
I was 9 years old. I was with my nonna, my grandmother, and my job that summer was to do the bakery run every morning at Dufferin and Eglinton. A lot of good Italian bakeries back in the day in that area. And on my way back from the bakery, one happy morning, there was a commotion outside the glass doors of Kresge's department store. Some of us remember Kresge's. And I was 9, I had this loaf of bread under my arms, and I thought, I'm going to check this out. I went into the Kresge's, something I'd never done before without my parents. And there it was. There was the Let It Be album on the walls of the music department. In the pit of the music department was a fellow with a turntable playing the Let It Be album. It was 1970. The band had already broken up, and I was 9 years old. So were you, Mike?
Sorry.
Mike, I said, so were you.
Yeah.
Mike and I went to high school together. And so that's when I got my first sort of inclination that this band is going to be with me for the rest of my life. So, Tara, if I knew that I could do something like this when I first became a Beatles fan, I probably would have done nothing different. I probably would have carried on just the way I did. Went to school, got my degree, got married, did everything I did, but always reserved a spot, you know, in the furthest recesses of my mind to create something like this. Good question. Yes?
Did the recent Yesterday movie have any connections with Canadians?
Great question. No.
Oh.
There are Beatles movies that do have connections to Canada. A Hard Day's Night had a fella named Lionel Blair doing a dance scene. It's a good 20, 30 seconds long. He was born in Montreal. What else from the Beatles movies? John Lennon did a film in the late 60s called How I Won the War. An independent film he shot in Spain. There was a Canadian actor in that one. I think that might be it for Beatles movies. But Yesterday was great. I mean, I thought they could have made it a half hour shorter. But my favorite scene in Yesterday was when he goes to visit John Lennon, a 79-year-old. Remember that?
Yeah.
Did that not give you goosebumps when you saw that? It was unreal. Yeah. The film assumes that John is still alive, and he's painting and drawing stuff on a little island off the coast of England, and this guy goes to visit him, and yeah, it was very touching. John Lennon, by the way, had the shortest lifespan of the Beatles. He only lived till 40. He was assassinated, but had the most profound impact on Canada. He spent 22 days in our country in 1969, more than any other Beatle did, even during their touring years. So, and in those 22 days, he packed a lot. And the song Come Together, we all know the song Come Together by the Beatles. What if I told you that that was inspired by an American who was visiting John in that hotel room suite in Montreal in 1969 and said, hey, I want to run for governor of California, and I've got this great idea for a slogan. Come together to the party. John, can you write me a slogan song? The guy was Timothy Leary. Timothy Leary was his name, very well known to Brian. And John said, I can't write a song for your campaign slogan, come together to the party, but the idea stewed in his mind. So the idea for Come Together was born in Montreal.
You've got lots of material for a future.
I do. I do. There are some great photos. Just to show you an example. Where are you, John? Very rare angle of George Harrison playing in Toronto, shot by a wrestling photographer. That's the Beatles and their manager going through Canadian customs. Can you imagine Paul McCartney ever going through customs again for the rest of his life? No, it doesn't happen. They get special treatment, right? But back in the day, you could be a Beatle, you can be Frank Sinatra, you're going through customs, right? Oh, this is, I don't know if you can see this, but there is a little dude peeking out of the police gauntlet there. He's trying to see what all the commotion is about. This is the chapter called The Beatles' Riotous Canadian Debut. Where's that shot of John? I mentioned he's 20. Oh, there it is. This is John Lennon at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto, chilling. Have you ever seen John like that? I mean, look at how beautiful that photograph is. Yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap up. Any last minute questions, requests? Singing, dancing? All right, well, listen, thank you so much for being here. You can. You can. Hello. Hello, Laura. I've seen you